Hello and welcome to the second tutorial video dedicated to the sweep test system software by Syntec. In the previous video, we have seen how to install this software and how to configure the system. And in this second video, we will talk about basic operations like setting sweep parameters, run a wavelength scan, get the wavelength dependent loss data and save them, and how to control each instrument individually. If you haven't watched the previous video, pause this one and come back after watching it. Now, in the previous video, we have left with this main window set at this System Setting tab. Now, to set the sweep parameters, we go to Scan Settings, and this tab is divided in two frames. The first one where we are going to set the parameters for the TSL, and the second one is for the MPM. Now, very straightforward, I will input the starting wavelength, the stop wavelength, and then I will select the sweep speed. Now, the TSL 570, we can select sweep speeds ranging from 1 nanometer per second all the way to 200 nanometers per second. But for today, I will choose 10 nanometers per second. And then the sweep step, and I will input 0.1 picometer. And finally, I will input the output power of the TSL. I will put 0 dBm. Next, configuring the MPM. First, I will select the optical channel that I am going to use. So for this example, I will choose channel 1 from the module 0. So I deactivate the other channels. Then I have to select the optical dynamic range. Now, depending on the MPM module and depending on the applications, you might need to select one or multiple dynamic ranges. So in this example, I will choose the first one. But if I need much wider dynamic range, I ask the TSL to scan as many times as dynamic ranges I need, and then assign each scan to a dynamic range. So the first one was the highest, and the mid-range, and the last scan I will take the lowest optical dynamic range. And this way I will have the full dynamic range of the sweep test system. But for the purpose of this video, I will choose just the first optical dynamic range. It will be more than enough. Now that all the parameters are set, I click on Apply and validate these settings. Next, move to the main chart. Now, before taking the wavelength dependent loss, we have to take reference data. To do so, I have connected the TSL and the MPM using a patch cord. Then, from this drop-down menu, select reference, confirm, and the TSL performs its wavelength scan, and I have the response. Now, I will disconnect this patch cord and I will connect my device. Okay. Now, for today's demonstration, I have selected hydrogen cyanide reference gas cell as device under test. Now, I connected my gas cell to the system, and all left to do is run the wavelength scan. Just click on scan. And here I have my wavelength dependent loss characteristic of my gas cell. Now I can just zoom on some peaks, drag and inspect all my spectrum. I can reset the chart, and now that my data are recorded, I have to save them. Just click on Save, and I will specify the folder and the name. And here we see that the file was saved as a CSV file on my desktop. Now, in case of repeated measurements, I just go to Scan Setting and check Repeat Settings. I have to input the number of times I need to repeat my measurement. In case you leave it at 0, the system will repeat the measurement indefinitely until you press stop button. But for this video, I will repeat 3 times. Then I have to specify the waiting time between each scan. I will leave it 0. And if I want to save every single measurement, I go to graph setting and check auto save and specify the folder where I want to save the data. Go back to main chart, click on repeat. At any moment, I can see the scan status here, and it gives me what is the repetition count. Now that all the measurement is done, I will check, and indeed, all my measurements were saved. Now that we have seen how to control the swept test system, let's see how to control each instrument individually. For that, we go to Instrument tab, and the first frame is where we control the TSL. So I can input any value and click on Set, and sure enough, the TSL was set at the desired value. Similarly, I can input some power value, and the TSL has put the value. Now, this functionality can be really interesting if you have just punctual measurement at one specific wavelength or at one specific output power without running the whole scan. So we made it very simple for you to control just the TSL. The frame below is the control panel of the MPM. Now, if you need to make very high precise measurement of your photonic device, the thing you want to do before every measurement is to perform a zeroing. That is, suppress the dark current of your photodiode. But before performing the zeroing, you must close all the optical channels with their dedicated black cap. Then you have to click on Set, and the zeroing will be performed. And the second control on the MPM is a live reading of the output power. So if I click on here to select the MPM, then select the slot and the channel, and I start. And here I have a clear direct live reading of the output power. And this functionality becomes really interesting if you are performing some alignment of your photonic crystal or your photonic integrated circuit with the rest of the testing system. Or maybe you want to check the output power at every single channel. So very easy, let's go back to settings. Here the power reading has been stopped. We select all the channels, go back to instrument, and I will read the power of all channels and just start. And here I have the reading of all the 4 channels of my MPM211. So let's summarize. In this video today, we have seen how to set the system to perform a wavelength dependent loss, how to save the data, how to perform a repeated scan, and how to control each instrument individually. In the next video, we will focus on the analysis methods that are embedded in this software. Meanwhile, please feel free to check our website and see all the photonics solution that Sentech has to offer. I will see you in the next video.